Hello, my friends. It's Nick. It's the ASMR nerd. And today, I got some nerdy stuff planned for you. Big surprise. Today, we're going to be looking at another mechanical keyboard. I know, you've been missing this. It's time for another one. I'm quite excited about today's keyboard though because it looks really good. It's got a lot of compelling features and perhaps best of all, it's affordable. It comes in at under $100. Do I have your attention? Today we're looking at the YUNZII YZ75, the YZ75. And if the name YUNZII sounds familiar to you, it might be because I looked at one of their keyboards previously, about half a year ago or so. That keyboard was this one right here, the IF98, a very handsome gentleman with some desirable features. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a really solid board, and that was my first experience with YUNZII. YUNZII is quite invested in bringing high-end features, enthusiast-grade mechanical keyboard features down to a more mainstream price point. So the YZ75 the IF98 was a little over $100, I think around $120. Today's keyboard, the YZ75, sneaks in even lower than that, regularly around $100, frequently on sale for somewhat less, around $90. And I think you can find a coupon down in the video description as well to save you a bit of additional money if you're looking at picking one of these up. There'll be a link down there and a coupon code for you as well. But the YZ75, as the name suggests, is the smaller sibling of the IF98. It comes in a 75% form factor, which is to say it doesn't have a numpad, but by getting rid of it, it provides a more ergonomic, space-saving, and efficient form factor. And that's just one of many desirable features on this little guy. It comes with hot swap sockets, so you can put in whatever switches you want. It comes with RGB backlighting, of course, edge lighting as well around the perimeter. It comes with wireless in both the Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz flavors. It comes with high quality dye-sub PBT keycaps that will last you an eternity. It comes with foam dampening. It comes with all that good stuff. An impressive list of features at this price point. So today we're going to be taking a very thorough look at the YZ75. I'll be unboxing it, inspecting it. We'll check out the stabilizers. We'll check out the RGB. We'll check out the wireless functionality. And of course, we'll take it for a sound test. So without further ado, let's take a look at YUNZII's YZ75. And here we have the YUNZII YZ75 in box. I hesitated for a moment there because I was trying to find if it had the name on the box, and it doesn't appear to. It just says YUNZII, but I don't see a model name anywhere. What we do have though is a 2022 copyright for some reason. And then it says one click to infinity 3 times in a row. We've got some certifications and website information down here, all that sort of thing. Note accessories are underneath. Please check before throw away. That's inside the box. Presumably they mean. We've got a QR code here. Scan the QR code for perhaps a manual. I'm not quite sure. We have some information here in Chinese, which is not super helpful to me, but perhaps to someone who can read it. And then the exact same thing on the other side. does say here, hot swap and mechanical keyboard. So at least we know in a very general sense what this is. And of course we do have this picture on the front. We've got an astronaut putting keycaps in place. This looks pretty similar to the packaging on the IF98 that I unboxed last year. And I actually can't remember if that one included the name on the box or not. I'm starting to think maybe it didn't. Anyway, it's kind of quirky packaging. It's kind of weird. And I kind of like it because it's kind of weird, but also I do wish it was a little more informative as to what we should expect inside. It doesn't tell us anything about switch types or features or layout or anything. YUNZII also sent over a couple of other things in the box. This came in a larger box. I got this little card here with their socials on it, I guess, and some QR codes and such, and critically a support email. And inexplicably, I received this. It's a notepad, I think. It says coffee time on it, and it has cats and coffee. We've got a bread cat, a cat loaf down here. We've got a cat rolling over, showing its belly. We've got a sleepy cat who I guess hasn't had coffee yet. And a coffee mug there. And another very cute cat just laying on its back. A silhouette of a cat right here. I have no idea why they included this. I have no idea what this has to do with the product, but I am here for this. I love this. It comes in this very crinkly bag. So let's just, I guess I'll take it out. For what it's worth, I have no idea if they have shipped or do ship other YZ75s with this, or any of their products for that matter. As I said, this really has absolutely nothing to do with the keyboard, but I just wanted to show it to you guys anyway because it was adorable, or it is adorable. Also got like little coffee beans and croissants and things in the background here, coffee cups. Anyway, yeah, no further explanation required, I guess. It's a coffee time Kit Kat notepad. Who doesn't love that? But you know, in all seriousness, like, thanks to YUNZII for the pack-in. It's kind of fun to see, I guess, and I do hope that that's something that they send out with all of their keyboards, or something similar at least, because that's a fun little extra. Okay. Let's open this up. I've been waiting to do this for quite a while. I've had this keyboard here, just waiting for unboxing, and for various reasons I hadn't gotten around to it, so finally I get to find out what is inside this box. This box in particular is completely nondescript. Nothing on the front or sides or anything. Simply a blank box. YZ75 user manual. A schematic of the keyboard on the front. It appears to be in Chinese. Maybe there's an English side. English part. There we go. Quick start guide. Model YZ75 wireless. Hot swappable. Works on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS. 3100 mAh battery in there. Triple mode connectivity. Weighs over a kilogram. 82 keys. Dies up PBT keycaps, RGB backlighting, and south-facing LEDs. It's a lot of good stuff. A variety of secondary functions here. Indicator light is explained. Connectivity is explained, and pairing. RGB control. And it's got a little switch diagram. It explains how to remove and install keycaps and switches. This actually looks like a fairly well put together little manual. It certainly looks a bit nicer than some that I've seen recently. Also, software download YUNZII.com. We will not be looking at the software in this video in the interest of time. I will check it out on my own time and let you guys know my general impressions of it, if it seems functional at the very least. Looks like the software is only for Windows though. And we have some Japanese. Okay, well that's all well and good. Inside, what do you know? Got a switch, a spare switch just kind of rattling around in here. So this keyboard comes equipped with a Gateron G Pro switches, which are Gateron's slightly less budget switches. And they come factory lubed, which is very nice. This is the G Pro Black switch, I think, is what this particular board comes with. They do offer other, colors as well, with different sounds and feels, of course. I think you can do blues, browns, yellows. I believe those are all available. The Gateron G Pro, wow, I'm struggling with the words today, you guys. The Gateron G Pro Black is a linear switch with a fairly heavy actuation force. Somewhat like a Cherry MX Black, which is not a common switch, but I can feel, definitely, that spring offers a fair bit of resistance. There's a fair amount of weight required, pressure required to press it down, but I kind of like a heavy linear switch that can feel very smooth and buttery, and this one does feel pretty good. That factory lubrication definitely helps. We've got clear polycarbonate upper housing, white, maybe nylon lower, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I mean, these are good, well-regarded kind of workhorse, semi-budget switches, I guess. They're not premium, but they're solid value switches. Here, I'll let you hear up close here. No pinging there, really. That noise you heard, that was me accidentally tapping the microphone. Let's do the other here. Quiet bottom out, clacky-ish top out, rebound. Anyway, it's a fairly nice sounding switch, if not, sort of a premium switch at least. The keyboard here resides under this cover, a dust cover, ostensibly. things in here. Which is another spare switch. I find it funny these aren't in like a little baggie or something. A keycap and switch puller of the generic variety, but it's got the nice wire style keycap puller, which is great. It'll get the job done, even though it's not fancy. A fairly basic looking cable here. It's simply black, PVC coating, no fabric sleeving or anything. USB-A on one end, USB-C on the other. No branding, nothing like that, and no hook and loop cable wrap either. It's just a twist tie there. So it also seems maybe a little short. I mean, probably long enough for most people, but it doesn't feel especially long. Maybe 3 feet at most. Oh yeah, so this is a badge, and I believe it can be used as okay. Yeah, it's like a little metallic badge here. Funny. It's plastic, but I think it's got a little, like it looks grimy, but I think it's because it's got plastic covering each side to prevent fingerprints and whatnot, I'm pretty sure. Can't get it off, but yeah, it does. And then we have this clear one as well. I'm not sure if these are, is this adhesive? No. Okay, I'm actually really not quite sure what these are for. I think what you can do is you could opt to, you remove the switches and the keycaps on the right-hand side of the board, and therefore losing their functionality. But if you wanted to put these in there for aesthetic purposes, you could do that. And it's kind of like maybe it's like a light diffusing thing. Maybe it's supposed to sit on top there. And then there's RGB. I honestly don't know. Yeah, that's probably it, because this is like clear, right? You can see right through. So maybe that's how it's supposed to go. Anyway, it's purely aesthetic, but it's like a blocker that sits in there. We'll find out when we look at the keyboard, but it's certainly unique. But their IF98 had a similar situation. It's nice that they give us options. I mean, I think I'd prefer the functionality in myself of the keys, but some people prefer the aesthetics. And then we have a handful of additional keycaps. If we want to swap out some of the function row keys, we can, or the function column keys, I guess. We can also switch out for a Mac layout with like the option key here. This also gives us a nice look at the keycaps themselves. They are dye sublimated PBT. PBT being a nice high quality plastic that many people favor for keycaps. And you can see they're actually very thick. These are really quite thick keycaps. There's no flex in the slightest, like not even a little bit. These are cherry profile, which is kind of a lower profile version of OEM. It's a very common profile. You've probably typed on many keyboards with OEM or cherry profile switches, or keycaps, I should say. And the legends look clean. don't see any blooming or diffusion of the dye. They look pretty sharp. We'll have to see once we look at the rest of the board about centering and consistency in that, but it looks all right from here at least. So, oops. Where did I lose that? All right, and that's that. So let's put this aside and look at the keyboard itself. So here is the keyboard in this foam bag. And there it is. Wow, it's very sharp looking, isn't it? It makes a great first impression, in my opinion, aesthetically. So there are two colorway options for this board, the YZ75. There's this one with the black alphanumeric keys and the off-white modifiers. And then there's one that's kind of the inverse of that. But we've got these like slightly beigey kind of accent keys on these slightly lighter modifiers and such. And then yeah, these black alphas. And I think it looks really good. The inverse version has a white case as well. This of course has the black case, and this black top plate here, which is on the top case, is plastic, but it's got a kind of a finish that gives it a bit of sparkle. I don't know if you can see, but it's like a speckled, sparkled texture. It actually looks pretty nice. I think it looks better than just flat black plastic. So, in terms of the layout, we have a 75% layout, an exploded 75% layout, which is to say we have the main chunk here, which you get on all keyboards more or less. We also have the F-row keys up above for people who like those. We have dedicated arrow keys, but they come at the expense of some oddly shaped keys here in the bottom right, a shortened right shift, and one U-sized alt function and control on the right, as opposed to the 1.5 U size. But that does give us dedicated arrow keys that are slightly split away from the main body, so that, well, it looks a little nicer, and also it's easier to find with your fingers. And because it's 75%, we get our nav function row over here, nav cluster, with basically 5 of the 6 keys that you would get in a normal nav cluster on a full-size keyboard. No numpad, obviously, but you retain a lot of functionality in this form factor while saving a lot of space. So 75% is one of my favorite form factors from a sort of space efficiency perspective. And this one has the full row of 4 plus the delete key up here. Looks like YUNZII opted for a key rather than a knob in the top right. It's also very popular these days to put a knob there, but you know, the functionality is dubious, I suppose. It's kind of nicer in some cases to have the key. So that's what we're looking at here in terms of layout. If we take a closer look here, we can see we've got some lock lights, some indicator LEDs here for battery and caps lock and all that sort of thing. If we take a quick tour around, we can see on the front edge nothing to speak of except for a diffuser band. This is a semi-transparent band that runs all the way around the keyboard and should diffuse the nice band of color around the keyboard. That's always a welcome feature. Nice little RGB flourish. We have that band running right around this side. The top case, the edge here, is chamfered like this, so we have a nice kind of angled cut there. Come around the back, it's exactly the same. Almost nothing to see except for a USB Type-C port there, which is cut into that diffuser band. And nothing on the right side either, so it's pretty minimalistic. There's no logo, there's nothing like that. You can see that there's a bit of an angle, hopefully you can see that, to the board. We have sort of this undercut piece here. It might be a little tough to see, but it's wedge shaped, so you'll have an angle to the board no matter what. But it's a pretty modest, pretty mild angle there. Turning it over, we do get a YUNZII logo right there. We get the product name, some certifications, and other basic information. Every click has a story, it says. Sure, that's kind of fun, I guess. We have, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4 anti-slip feet in black on the back, as well as little flip-out feet if you want a more severe typing angle, and an on-off switch, which will be for the wireless functions. Presumably you turn on the wireless with this switch, and then you can swap between Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz modes on the front with key combinations. Now this does beg the question, where is our USB receiver? It was not in the box. There it is. Look at that. Sneaky, sneaky. It's hiding right down here. And it's spring-loaded. Awesome. Look at that. Little generic black USB receiver for the 2.4 gigahertz wireless mode. I prefer it when they're branded so that I can tell them apart, because I have many keyboards, but I don't think that's a problem for the average person, so it's just a generic black one. But it matches the keyboard, and it's got this little magnetic and spring-loaded storage compartment there, which is awesome to see. I'm really always happy when keyboards have that storage compartment, because I hate having little free-floating USB receivers. Again, it just makes it so easy to get them mixed up. So that's kind of that. Now, over here on the right, as I pointed out, we do have this column of nav cluster keys. I believe that is where this badge is intended to go, if you so choose. If you so choose. So we might as well check that out. Why don't we just see what that looks like? And while we're at it, we will pop out some switches. Well, we kind of have to. But we'll pop out the switches just to see what the plate and the PCB look like underneath. So just handling it here, picking it up, it feels pretty solid. There is a bit of plastic flex and creaking that I can feel in here, but it's nothing egregious, pretty par for the course. What I will say is it feels like it's got a good weight and solidity to it. So there are a couple of layers of dampening foam in here. One between the top plate and the PCB, which we will probably see when we take out these switches, and one underneath the PCB. It's EVA foam, so it has good sound dampening properties. And then that battery probably adds a fair bit of weight as well. So, alright, let's pop out these Gateron G Pro black switches. There's one. There's two. Oops. There's three. Gotta be careful with the switch puller. It's easy to scratch the top plate there. And there's four. Or at least scuff the top plate. It might not be scratched. Okay, so the top plate is plastic. I believe it is FR4, which is just a type of plastic, but it's a type of plastic that people often like for plates on keyboards, positioning plates. They find it has nice acoustic properties, so that's good. We have a layer of, they claim, EVA foam underneath that plate. You can see it there between the plate and the PCB, although it doesn't really look like EVA foam, but it's hard to tell from here. But it may be. The top plate obviously is in white here, so like I said, be careful when you're pulling your switches out that you don't scuff it up. You can see the sockets themselves, the hot swap sockets. You can put any Cherry MX compatible type switch in there, so you're not limited to the Gaterons here. They are 3 and 5 pin supporting, so pretty much any switch should work there. And the LEDs are south facing, so they're on the bottom side of the socket, which, if you have shine-through keycaps, can often actually produce a nicer shine-through effect if the legends are, positioned at the bottom of the cap. Also, it minimizes interference with keycaps in the Cherry MX, or not Cherry MX, but the Cherry profile, which is what we have here. So that's a good choice given the profile of the keycaps we've got. Sometimes if you have north-facing sockets, the upper rows, the higher profile here, the support struts inside the keycap can have issues with the switch and the orientation in that north-facing configuration. So not issues, like they'll still go on, but you won't get the bottom out sound that you really want with them. Depends on the board, depends on the caps, but anyway. So the south facing does maximize our Cherry keycap compatibility, which is great. And the PCB underneath there is clearly white as well, which looks nice. So let's see what the heck we're supposed to do with this here. I think, just in absence of any other directions, I'm guessing that this is supposed to, come on, I'm just trying to get off this plastic here. There we go. This is supposed to go underneath. That's nice. Little sticky sounds. What does this say? It's like a signature. What does it say? I can't read it. I'm really not sure what that's supposed to say, but oh, come on now. There we go. So we've got this metallic side here, or this matte black side here. But I guess if you want the signature, or whatever it is, to read properly, I think this is the way we want it. So I presume we just pop that in here like so, maybe. Is this what we're supposed to do? Am I ever going to get this out of here? I don't know. I'm not confident I ever will. which is like smooth on one side, like glossy on one side, and then like matte on the other. Am I supposed to do like this? Maybe. I'm not sure. Well, it certainly fits there anyway. And so we have this kind of metallic badge. And then presumably when we, you know, have the backlight on, that will illuminate and hopefully look nice. Maybe I was supposed to do it the other way around. Maybe this is like the diffusing piece that goes underneath. That's probably what it is. But then I'm not sure how that little badge stays in position. I was worried it would just kind of fall off, so I'll muck around with it. I don't think the manual says anything about it. I don't remember seeing anything about it here. Removing and installing switches, connection, RGB guide. Nope, it does not explain it. So, well, again, hopefully I can get this out if I want to. But anyway, so there's that. Now there's one more thing we should check here, and that is, of course, these stabilized keys, or longer keys that have the stabilizers under them to stop them from wiggling. And as I always say, this is something that's really challenging to get right. And as of the last couple of years, more budget-oriented manufacturers are finally paying more attention to the sound and feel of their stabilizers, which is great, because untreated, rattly stabilizers can really make an otherwise nice board feel and sound cheap. Likewise, well-tuned stabilizers that are nicely lubricated, padded, balanced can make a relatively budget-oriented keyboard sound really nice. They can elevate the typing sound and feel. So let's see. YUNZII does say that they have lubed these stabilizers. So let's see how they feel and sound. Here we go. We'll start with the backspace. Oh wow, that's really good. It's a little bit of tick on this end, but in the middle, it's fantastic. And it sounds like they've maybe padded it as well on the bottom out. But that's very smooth. It sounds really nice. Let's try the enter key. Really nice. Excellently tuned. Left shift. A little more tick on that, but overall, great showing as well. And space bar, the hardest one to get right. Let's try it. Pretty darn good. It has a nice thok to it, a nice depth to it. That actually feels and sounds great. So a really impressive stabilizer showing. I'm so glad that more and more manufacturers are really paying attention to such a thok. Paying attention to their stabs. Well done, YUNZII. Excellent. Like really, really good. Just a little bit of tick, but like for a keyboard, you know, at this price point, that's excellent. Okay, so you probably know how this goes, but the next step is to check out the RGB, the wireless functionality, and other secondary functions. So we'll be dimming the lights for that to see that properly, and then I'll be doing some typing so that we can hear it and see it in action. So without further ado, let's check out the lights. And here we have the YUNZII YZ75 all illuminated, and dang, it looks good, doesn't it? I think it looks really nice. this is one of the more appealing RGB implementations I've seen for a little while anyway. The LEDs are quite bright. This is actually not the brightest setting. It goes up one higher than this. The colors are really nice and vivid, and interestingly, luckily for me recording this, there's no flicker that I can see. Now, granted, I can never see LED flicker with my eyes on any of the keyboards I review, but many of them do have LED flicker on the camera, which you guys see. But as far as I can tell, looking at the screen on the camera, there is no flicker coming off this board either, which is potentially useful if you are a streamer or YouTuber, someone that's going to be recording your keyboard or have it on camera. So for whatever reason, it seems that the LEDs used here don't have that flicker issue with the frequency of the LEDs interacting with the shutter speed of the camera. Nice to see, although not important for most people. I will stress, generally speaking, or in all cases, I cannot see that flicker with my naked eyes, and certainly not here. But as you can see, we have an RGB backlight, and then we also have an RGB Edge Light, which is always a welcome addition. It casts some beautiful light onto the desk and onto surrounding peripherals and whatnot. That can be independently configured on this board, as one would hope. So let's start off with the basics of the backlight here, and then we'll move on to the edge light, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the other features like the wireless connectivity and just some of the other options here. So for now, let's actually turn off the edge light so that we can isolate the backlight, and then we'll do the opposite, I should say, when it comes to looking at the edge light, just so you can see each one independently. So we can turn off the edge light like so. You can see that with the edge lit LEDs off, we still do get a little bit of illumination through that diffuser band, which, I mean, I don't think it looks awful, but it doesn't look great. It would be nice, I suppose, if you didn't get anything through there. And that's just leaking through from the LEDs under each switch. It doesn't look terrible. It's just something I noticed worth pointing out. Obviously, when you have the edge light on, then you don't even notice. So as I said, we do have quite a bit of brightness on here. If we hold function and press up, it goes one brighter yet again. You can see when we reach the maximum or minimum of any setting, our lock lights, our indicator lights here, flash. We'll talk a bit about what those indicator lights are indicating to in a moment. But we start at our brightest here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 levels of brightness, and then off, it looks like. Let's turn it back up. Sure, we'll have it on max. Of course, like any good self-respecting RGB keyboard these days, we do have lots of different options for the backlight, which we can cycle through with function page down. Oh, you might have noticed and been a little disappointed that I don't have that insert, that blocker in here on the right hand side, and that's because in order to control the backlight, you actually need access to these buttons over here. Function page down changes the setting. Function page up, I believe, changes the direction, which this one has no directionality, but the previous one, it was a left to right colored wave. Function page up would make that a right to left colored wave. And then we can change color with function home, although this one is cycling through colors, so I don't know if it'll do much. Okay, it does. So now it just breathes on a single color. Looks like we have, 5, 6, 7, 7 or so different color options, and then 8 being the rainbow option. So hey, that's pretty good. We have, of course, a variety of different options, all the kinds of things you've come to expect from RGB keyboards these days. There's a pinwheel. Let's see the direction change on that one. There we go. Now it's counterclockwise. Now it's clockwise. So this is just a solid color option, which again we can cycle through. That's kind of a fun, like, bouncing waves. They keep appearing from different spots on the board, or do they? They're all coming from over here now. But I thought we saw one there, like ripples, kind of. All right, horizontal lines. This is probably a reactive one, yeah. Classic. Okay, another reactive mode. I see. Another reactive mode where you get kind of a cross centered on whatever key you press. Another reactive mode. Oh, that's maybe a sound sensitive mode. No, I don't think so. I think it's more to do with typing activity. Another reactive mode. Lots of reactive backlight options here. And another one where the ripples emanate from wherever you press. The kind of thing we've seen before on lots of other keyboards, but maybe a few more reactive modes here than on your average keyboard. And then we're back to the colored wave. So that's the RGB situation for the backlight. Now let's re-enable our edge light and let's disable our backlight. So you can disable the entire backlight and maybe edge light too. Let's find out with the function backspace. Okay, so that turns off everything. It's not quite what we want. We want the edge light only, so we'll just turn down the backlight like so. Nice and easy. So now we have just the edge light, and this one is controlled with function control, right control. That changes the functionality. So here we have cycling through colors in sort of a breathing fashion. Cycling through colors without the breathing. And some kind of, this is sort of interesting. It bounces around the keyboard. And now these can also have their color modified with the function Alt, left Alt. So now we have a single color option here. And we can switch that through what appears to be the same 7 or so colors, or 8 or so colors that we had on the backlight. And now we're back to the rainbow. And then this is off, I guess, unless it's reactive. No, it appears to simply be off. And, okay, it looks like we have a solid color option as well, which we can cycle through. Like so. And back to our rainbow marquee. And as I demonstrated before, we can change the brightness of that backlight or that edge light with the function left and right square brackets. So let's turn everything back on. There we go, maximum color. So that looks pretty good. Like I said, the colors are nice, the gradients are nice. It gets really quite bright. And they're not shine through keycaps, so it's not as bright as it would be if they were, but you know, considering that they're not, we still get a lot of light coming out, a lot of color illuminating the board, so looks pretty good. Now we are in a wireless mode right now. It is in the 2.4 gigahertz mode, which uses the little USB receiver. In this mode, the backlight will stay on for, I think, 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes of inactivity, it'll turn itself off. That's fine. In the wired mode, I believe it stays on continuously. It doesn't have that auto off functionality. Speaking of wireless modes, we do have a few options here. Like I said, we're currently using the USB receiver mode. That is accessed by going function and 4. So if you have the receiver, plugged in, you can just go function 4 and it will automatically find it. The wired mode is function 5, but I don't even have the keyboard plugged in right now. So if I did that, it would look it's confused. So it's trying to find the USB-C plugged in cable, but it's not there. But if I go back to function 4, it automatically and pretty much immediately connects to the USB receiver. It does have 3 Bluetooth slots as well, function 1, 2, and 3. I have it paired on function 1 right now, so if we do that, searches, finds it, there we go. Flash blue for a minute as it searched. If you want to pair a different device, you go function and you hold down the other slot. There, now we're in pairing mode. I'm not going to bother doing that, but that's how you would do it. And you just find the keyboard on your device. When I paired it to my PC, it showed up instantly and paired pretty much immediately. Let's go back to USB receiver mode. So, good news on the wireless front. It is snappy and responsive. I did notice maybe a little bit of latency in the Bluetooth mode. That's pretty typical. Usually the response rate, the polling rate is much lower in Bluetooth mode. It's a lower power mode in general, and therefore you will get more battery life in Bluetooth mode than the 2.4 gigahertz wireless mode. Not sure what the polling rate in the 2.4 gigahertz wireless mode is either. Typically, it's somewhat less than in wired mode. Usually with the cable, you'll be getting 1000 hertz. That's pretty typical. In the wireless mode, you might be getting 250 or something like that. Not positive. And then even less in the Bluetooth. But anyway, in the 2.4 gigahertz mode, I haven't noticed anything in terms of latency or lag, so it feels good to use that way, even for gaming. No dropped signal or reception that I've noticed either. Granted, I haven't taken it super far away from my PC, but on the desk surface, it seems to communicate just fine. Battery life, generally good as well. It will easily get me through a day or more on my desk here with the lights on. Speaking of battery, we have this wonderful feature. We can hold down function and spacebar. It will show us how much battery we have remaining. So we've got about 70% right now, as indicated by the lights illuminating up to 7. A nice handy feature for sure. We do have a few other handy features here as well. We've got your standard Windows lock function, Windows key. And we actually get an LED to show us that Windows lock is on. We also have a full keyboard lock, which is not something I've seen before, but that's this right here. And I can do this and none of these keystrokes register. So the whole keyboard is locked in this mode. We can go function P once again, and now my keystrokes register again. We of course have caps lock as well. And then finally, we have a battery light indicator mode here, which is for charging. It illuminates green when we're fully charged, I believe, and red when we're at 10% or less battery. We have a few other things. We have some media controls under the F row, play pause under F8, and sort of everything centered around there. And holding function and holding down escape for 5 seconds will reset the keyboard. And that's everything, which is actually quite a bit. This is fairly fully featured. We have pretty much everything we might want here. I believe insert lives under function delete, but otherwise we have pretty much a full layout here. Again, I'm really happy with the RGB. I think it looks great. And the wireless functionality seems to be very good. Now there is software for this keyboard, evidently, provided by YUNZII. I have not downloaded it or tested it yet, but I will be doing so before the end of the video so I can give you, a little bit of my impressions about it, but I won't be showing it here on the video. I suspect it will do all the things we've just shown with the RGB, put in software, probably allow us some, flexible key remapping as well. So, with all of that out of the way, I think it's time for us to get to the typing test, and I think you'll be pleased with how this keyboard sounds. At least I certainly have been. So, without further ado, let's type on this thing. right then, so we've had a chance to put this little guy through its paces. As you've seen, we've had a chance to see it and hear it in action. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think about it and give you some other little bits and pieces of information to follow up on some stuff that I mentioned earlier. So, right off the bat, I like this thing a lot. I think it's a great value keyboard at its price point, around that $90 price point, even a little bit less if you take advantage of that coupon down in the video description, potentially. But yeah, it's loaded with features. It looks great. It feels great. It sounds great. This is one of those keyboards that makes my job really easy because there's really nothing to complain about with it, or only very minor things. But YUNZII has executed very well on a keyboard that operates and sounds fantastic. If I had a couple of small gripes about it, it would be that it's a little creaky, especially when you pick it up like this. You might have noticed, like, specifically the top frame actually it's kind of hard to tell, but because of this sandwich style construction with the RGB strip in here, the top of the frame actually kind of shifts around a little bit. You can really hear that when you kind of, hear what I mean? Like, it's just kind of got that creakiness to it. And sometimes when I pick it up, it almost feels like that top portion of the case is kind of shifting from side to side a little bit. I don't know. It's solid enough. Like, it's not going to fall apart on you, that's for sure. But it just, something about the construction doesn't feel quite as solid as I might like. And you do get that kind of creakiness in there. When it's on your desk and you're typing on it, you don't notice that at all. It's really only if you're picking it up and like handling it that you notice that creak. The other minor gripe that I have with it is the stabilizer tuning is a bit inconsistent. Generally, really well done. Certainly certain keys like left shift, the enter key, sound really, really good. But there is a little bit of rattle on, for instance, backspace on this side and spacebar on this side as well. You might have heard that a bit in the typing test. This is, untuned straight from the factory. Like, I haven't done anything with it. Now, very easy problem to rectify. Just a little bit of lube in there or holy mod it. Won't be a problem. They are, of course, standard, a PCB mount stabilizers, so very easy to modify. But there's a little bit of inconsistency from the factory in this particular, example here. Anyway, but with those gripes out of the way, everything else is fantastic. I think this thing, like I said, really performs well and sounds excellent for its price point. And, hopefully you agree, although, of course, keyboard acoustics, sound and feel are a subjective thing. So maybe you want something a little clackier, but I think it has a really nice balance in its sound signature between clack and thok. This one, of course, comes with those Gateron G Pro Black switches, which are a really nice, slightly heavier linear switch. But it's just a nice sounding board. It's got a really pleasing sonic signature. Very little in the way of pinging, very little in the way of rattle or anything like that. And it's something that I like to type on. I've been using it for a few weeks now, and I enjoy typing on it. So, and aesthetically, I think it's a winner. I really like the color combo that they've chosen here. I think the layout is, standard for an exploded 75% keyboard, but looks really great. The The choice to include a dedicated delete key rather than a knob up here might not appeal to everyone, but for me, I think I prefer the delete key personally. Here's an interesting thing. Let's talk about this right here. As you saw when I was showing you the RGB backlighting, I actually had the key switches in here rather than the spacer because I needed to use those to modify the backlight. What I've done here is I've taken those out just so that I can show you what that spacer with that badge looks like, because it is pretty sharp. It's pretty nice looking. Check it out. It looks pretty good, and it's really fun. Maybe not the most practical, but I think it looks really nice anyway, so you have your choice. The good news is that the software allows remapping of pretty much everything, including the keys for controlling the backlight. So if you wanted to have your keyboard looking like this, but you still want to be able to control the backlight in hardware, you can set it up to do that. The software actually, something else that I promised you I'd talk about a bit, is pretty good. I would say it's not the most intuitive, but it is a cut above what I often see from Chinese manufacturers putting out software to support more budget-oriented keyboards. You can control the backlighting for both the RGB backlight as well as the side light. Both are configurable in software. You can remap pretty much everything, and it supports remapping to not just keyboard functions, but mouse functions, launching software, OS system functions, macro recording and execution as well. All kinds of things to be able to configure and play with there. You can even control the sleep mode, the power saving mode, which allows you to tweak how long the lights will stay on in wireless mode before they turn off, and how long it'll stay active before it goes into deep sleep mode. So all that, very much appreciated. Now, if you're downloading the software, you go to YUNZII's website, click on the software header, look for the YZ75 portion of that page. There are two download options, a version 1 and a version 2. You might think version 2 is the one you want, but I had no luck with it, and I honestly don't know what exactly the difference is. But download the version 1, click on that. When you install it, it's actually version 2, so it says. So that's a little confusing. I don't quite know, but the version 1 worked just fine. It detected the keyboard right away. Whatever the thing under the version 2 download was, it did not. So the version 1 is the one you want to click on and download from the YUNZII website, but easily available through the website, a quick 20 megabyte download or so, and seems to work just great. Of course, I can never guarantee that the software is 100% safe. I don't have that kind of skill, in cybersecurity. For what it's worth, I didn't see it make any weird connections. I did check it out through Glasswire, and both Malwarebytes and ABG seemed to think it was safe. So, but you always use this kind of software at your own risk. But at any rate, it's there. It's functional. It seems pretty good. What else do I have to say about this little thing? Really not much more other than, this is one of those keyboards that makes my job easy. It's a joy to use. It's reasonably priced. It's very easy to recommend. If you like the aesthetics, if you like the sound, and you don't mind those few very small caveats that I mentioned, it's a really fun keyboard. It's lovely to interact with, and I highly recommend it. So if you are interested in picking up one of these for yourself, there is, of course, a link down below in the video description. There should also be a coupon code down there. which will save you a little bit of extra money. At the time of recording, I believe there's a small discount through Yunzii's website. Brings it down to about 93 US dollars, and that coupon should save you a little extra as well. Highly competitive in its price range. Again, if you like the look of it and you like the sound of it, I see no reason not to go for it. So, bravo to Yunzii for a very well executed product with the YZ75. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video. I do hope that you've enjoyed what we've looked at here. I am personally excited to see what Yunzii comes out with next, because I would say this is a modest improvement over the IF98, which was already pretty solid. I think the YZ75 offers even more functionality at an even lower price. Excited to see what Yunzii can do next. A big thank you to Yunzii for sponsoring today's video, for sending over the product sample that we looked at here. And a big thank you to you for watching. I hope you found this informative. I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time. Farewell for now, my friends. And now, my friends, it is my sworn duty, nay, my great honor, to present you with the names of this channel's supporters from Patreon and YouTube memberships. Gaze upon them and know that these are some of the greatest among us. I'm so very thankful for their kind support, and they do get some fun perks as well. They get early access to my weekend videos. They get their names in these credits. At the Foos Road tier, you get to vote in a monthly poll for a video. And at the Foos Road tier, you get your name read out in each of my videos. And our Foos Road tier patrons for this video are Jake Luffney, Angel Garcia, Rango Steele, K Time, Drummer Brit, Ragnar Ragnarsson, James C, and Dragoon 88. What do you think of my movie announcer voice? It's actually very hard to do when I'm speaking softly like this. But anyway, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. You too could get your name read out in my soft-spoken movie announcer voice if you would like. Or you could sign up at any of these tiers and enjoy the benefits therein. Please, if you are interested in supporting what I do on this channel and gaining some fun perks, check out the links down near the top of the video description. You will find both the YouTube memberships and Patreon links there, whatever suits you best, and you can find a tier that is right for you. As always, a huge, huge thank you to our wonderful supporters.